Oi oi mates, it's the fake Brit. Now I just wanted to share with you my little experience in the land down under. I've recently been to Sydney, Australia. Actually not too recently, because it was 2 months ago actually, but if you still count that as recent, then okay, it may still be recently. Anyway, I've been to Sydney 2 months ago, and from the time I landed on Sydney International Airport, I love the place already. It's so different compared to the country I live in called the Philippines. Very, very different. Obviously, Australia is a first world country and the Philippines isn't, so naturally it would be very different. But seriously, I really loved it. From the time we landed to the time we left, I absolutely loved the experience, and so I'd like to share with you 3 things that I love about Australia. Obviously, the first thing we had to do was to get home from the airport. Since we were staying at my uncle's house in Blacktown, we had him pick us up from the airport and drive us to his house, where we would be staying for the next 2 weeks. And of course, it's not such a short distance away. It took us about an hour or so to get from the airport to my uncle's house. But in the span of 1 hour, we covered a distance of about 20 or so kilometers. And that's already fast, because compared to what happens in the Philippines, you can get stuck in traffic for more than 3 hours and not even move a single bloody inch. And that's really one of the things I hate about the Philippines, because traffic is the biggest thing that can waste your time in this country. Whether you'd be using public transportation or your own car, you cannot avoid the traffic. It's everywhere and it follows you wherever you go. But thankfully in Sydney, it's very different. The roads are so clean and the drive was very, very smooth. We only had to stop when the traffic lights were red. And that's the only time we had to stop. We had to stop for nothing else than a red light. And that was amazing, because in the Philippines, you don't get a lot of that. And speaking of traffic, of course on the road there are certain rules to follow. What I really appreciate about Australians is that they actually obey traffic rules. Good work, Australia. Well, in the Philippines, sure, there are traffic rules on paper, and of course you need to take a test on traffic rules before you get your driver's license. But once people get their driver's licenses here, either they forget about all the rules, or they just simply don't care. But I think they just simply don't care. In the Philippines, there is no such thing as road courtesy. Unless you're one of the good drivers like me. And traffic rules? In the Philippines, those things almost do not exist as well. I wonder where they went. Probably the traffic rules are also stuck in traffic themselves. No, that wasn't actually hilarious, that was annoying. Anyway, in Australia, if there's a red light, people actually stop. I've never seen anyone in Australia try to beat a red light in the 2 weeks that I stayed there. And that is something, because in the Philippines you see them all the time. People running red lights and getting themselves killed in the process. And not only that, they get others injured or killed as well as themselves. So it's really not something that's good for everyone, is it? And not only that, another thing that I really did appreciate was the pedestrian lanes, because of 2 things. Number 1, people don't cross anywhere, unlike in this country, where people just cross anywhere they like, even if there's an overpass right next to them. But in Australia, people respect the rule of the pedestrian lane. If there's no pedestrian lane, they know that they shouldn't cross the street in that area. Simple as that. No questions asked. And the second thing about Australian pedestrian lanes that I really like is that cars actually stop for pedestrians. Unlike in this country, where the pedestrians have to stop in the middle of the road and get stuck between speeding vehicles on both sides before they can actually cross the street to safety. Nice, isn't it? But in Australia, it's very different. The moment you step on the pedestrian lane, cars will stop for you and wait for you to get to the safety of the other side of the road. Yay! Good job, Australia. In the Philippines, don't even think about it. Drivers here don't care. If you're in the middle of the road, they will make sure that you get stuck in the middle of the road for at least 30 seconds before you can get to the other side. So in that regard, again, I really have to say, good job, Australia. And of course, you can't just get to places by car. Of course, you have to know how to use the public transportation. And fortunately, in Australia, they have something they call the Opal Card. It's something like this, that is something like a credit card. And it's the size of a credit card, but it's actually an all-access pass to every form of public transportation in Australia. So if you want to go onto a bus, you can use this. If you want to go on a train, you can use this. And if you want to go on a boat, you can still use this. And it's really convenient, since all you have to do with the Opal Card is to top it up at convenience stores like 7-Eleven or news agencies or wherever they offer top-up services for Opal Cards. Minimum is 10 Australian dollars, and you can top it up as much as $100 if that's what you want. But of course we didn't do that, since we don't take public transportation that much. And so that's all you do. You top it up at 7-Eleven, and let's say you want to go onto a train. You just go onto the train, tap this onto the turnstile, and go right through. Convenient, isn't it? You don't even have to buy a ticket anymore, because this is the ticket. Same thing if you want to go inside a bus. You just get on the bus, tap this onto the terminal inside the bus, and take your seat. And whenever you get to your destination, you just tap right back so that the proper fare could be deducted from your account. It's that simple. I mean, why can't every city have something like this? It's the year 2015. Every city should have this. Another good thing about the Opal Card is that there's a limit to the fare that you pay on any given day. So, for example, if it's a weekday, you only get to pay 15 Australian dollars maximum. So if you go beyond that, then everything you do beyond $15 is free. So if you ride another train, or another bus, or another boat for that day, and you've already spent $15 previously, then it's free. Isn't that nifty? And another thing that I really love about this is that it's not expensive to get lost. So you get on a bus and you want to go to somewhere like downtown Sydney, but you missed your stop because you fell asleep. Because really the buses there are so comfortable you can actually fall asleep. Let's say that you did miss your stop and you fell asleep. All you have to do is get off at the next stop, cross the road, transfer buses, and once you get to the right stop, tap the terminal again, and surprise, surprise, they won't deduct anything from your account because you just sort of went back to a place you already been to. So zero, no charge. Amazing, isn't it? So for all you travellers out there, if you intend to go to Australia, it's okay to get lost because it's really not expensive to get lost. The only thing that you spend is time. In terms of money, no problem. And here's probably the best perk of all. When using an Opal Card on Sunday, the limit is only $2.50. Once you go beyond that, everything else is free. So if you're a tourist, you can maximize this perk by going all the places you want on Sundays. You only have to spend $2.50. Not a single cent more. Brilliant, isn't it? But then again, most of the time I was in Sydney, we went around by car. And here's one thing I noticed about the roads in Sydney that I really loved. And that is called the Roundabout. It's essentially an intersection where you have to go around the street in order to get to the other side. Roundabouts are really nice because they make navigating intersections a lot easier. All you have to do is to go around until you find the street that you're intending to go to. So if you want to turn to the street on your left, just go in the roundabout and turn left. If you want to go straight ahead, just go halfway around the roundabout and go straight. If you want to go to the street on the right, you just go a quarter of the way around the roundabout and turn right on that street. And of course, if you made a mistake and want to go back to the street you just came from, you just go full ways around the roundabout and go back to the street where you came from. It makes U-turning, left turning, right turning, and everything you do on intersections a lot easier. Why can't we have roundabouts in the Philippines? I don't know why. Oh right, corrupt politicians and all that stuff. Never mind. Those are 3 things that I really loved about Australia. Probably next time I'll be posting another video of more of the things that I love about Australia, because seriously, there are so many things that I'd like to share with you that I really appreciate and love about that land down under. And that's it. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already, and stay tuned for more videos in the coming days. See you when I see you, right?